I like to say I got involved with the program to save my life. I had worked teaching undergraduates at Wilkes. I had been involved with many different programs at the university and for various reasons had left Wilkes because I had moved far away. And yet I had always known about the possibility of this program. When I received a phone call from Mike and Bonnie that it would happen, would I like to help build it? It was a dream come true, manna from heaven, and it has thoroughly fulfilled me as a writer, as a person, as a teacher.
The creative writing program at Wilkes University, it comes from the fertile brain of Dr. Bonnie Culver. She is the one who came up with the idea. She came to me and we discussed it. I was at first skeptical, but she convinced me. The third factor that came in after she convinced me was, and again it was Bonnie's idea, was, can you get Norman Mailer, who is known for giving master classes in writing, to join the board and come to a conference, a kickoff conference? And Mailer came. But the other thing he did, which is little known, is that when he read over all of our discussion and rules and regulations and outlines of what the program was going to do, he noticed that it said that students coming into the program had to have a bachelor's degree. And he said to Bonnie and I, why is that? We checked with the state of Pennsylvania, and as it turned out, there was no state requirement. So we have had some of our most distinguished students in this program who've gone on to publish their books. Their manuscripts have been students who do not have a bachelor's degree, and that's separates us a bit from a lot of other programs.
I've been a friend of Mike Lennon's for practically eternity. And speaking of which, From Here to Eternity, James Jones' novel got me here really because Mike was doing a documentary on James Jones. So I've been connected to wherever Mike moves to end up there.
I got involved with the program because I had optioned a book and written a script based on the wonderful story of The Colony by terrific writer John Bowers, who happens to teach here. And John had the poor judgment of inviting me to a party. At the party, I met Kaylie Jones, and Kaylie began a conversation with me and was talking about film, and we had a wonderful conversation that went on and on and on, and she said at the end of it, how would you like to teach? We're looking for a screenwriting teacher. And I said, I have to tell you, I was lucky to get both into and out of college. I have an awful lot of experience, but I don't have any advanced degrees or anything, but I do have a lot of practical experience. And she said, stop right there. I want you to call this number because you're exactly the type of person we're looking for. Possibly another moment of bad judgment, but that's how I found out.
I met Mike Lennon in 1982, and he did a documentary on my father, which was through his association with the University of Illinois in Springfield. And he came out to Long Island, and we met then, and we've stayed friends ever since. And we started the James Jones Society, and so Mike and I stayed in touch many, many years. And I used to come to Wilkes when he was here, in the English department and do presentations and readings. And then I met Bonnie through Mike, and they asked me if I'd want to be involved in creating the MFA program. So it was wonderful because we got to build the kind of MFA program that we would have wanted to go to, that we dreamed of going to. So Nancy McKinley and I sort of built the fiction section of the website based on what we would have wanted as students. And so I've been involved from the very first day.
Kaylie Jones and I went to graduate school together at Columbia. We met dancing on the first night that we had this big celebration, and we became fast friends forever. And then we kind of lost track, went our own ways, and she heard I was living in Mexico and called, and she was coming for a vacation, and so we became friendly again. And I was doing a workshop down there and invited her to come do the fiction portion of the workshop, and I did the nonfiction. And she was on the computer teaching online, and that was totally foreign to me. And she told me about the program, and I thought it was weird, and she left. And then she asked if I would like to come and teach. And I said yes.
I was a studio executive at 20th Century Fox, met Bev because I optioned her book. Absolutely fell in love with the book, and she and I became friends over the years. And after we became friends, she led a very itinerant lifestyle. She was in Mexico, she was in Colorado. I could never really keep track of her. And one day I said in an email, "I'm so sad I never get to see you." And she said, "Well, would you like to see me twice a year if you taught at Wilkes? You could see me." And I said, "Well, what's Wilkes?" And she explained it to me, and I said, "It sounds confusing. I don't really understand what that is." And then I came, and it was amazing. And it was not only wonderful to see her, but it was wonderful to meet all the other great artists who teach here.
I was teaching in Singapore at NYU's Tisch Asia School of the Arts. I was teaching dramatic writing, so playwriting and screenwriting. We also had a TV program. Susan Cartsonis, we would often have her come over and talk to our students at the very end of the semester. And she said, and she knew that I was coming back to the States, so she said, "Come to, I want to introduce you to Bonnie. I think you two would really love each other, and you'll just love this community." And she wouldn't shut up about how great this community was. I mean, she was like, I was like in Singapore. For Susan, it's like 9 at night, or 9 in the morning. But for me, it's 1 in the morning because of the time difference, and I'm going. And she would not shut up about what a wonderful community it was, and how creative it was, and how people just inspired each other. But it felt really safe. That it felt like this cauldron of creativity, but safety, so that people could really try things.
What would be my favorite? What would be my favorite memory?
The poets in the program that I've worked with have had really tremendous success, and coming out with chapbooks and full-length collections. Jim Warner, Dawn Lees, Chris Bullard, Jennifer Diskin. I'm going to forget people. There have been so many, and that's what I love best, is to see the students succeed and reach their goals.
Good God, at my age, I don't have much memory.
Bonnie Culver wrote a play in which I created a character called Sligo. I had to play Sligo, and it got so popular. We've run the show, I think, 3 times already, and almost did it a 4th time. But Sligo was an easy character to play, and yet his comments during the show brought tremendous laughter from the audience. So it was sort of a fun thing to go on, because everywhere I would go, people would call me Sligo and so on.
Well, we don't want to talk about the after parties. Let's see.
When I turned 50, we had a faculty meeting, and Sarah Pritchard passed out cupcakes with candles, and all of a sudden she turned the lights out and she said, "Raise your cupcake and make a wish for Gregory Fletcher." And everybody's candles went up at the same time in complete darkness, and I felt this love and these wishes, and it's remained one of the best moments of my life.
Favorite memory?
I think it was the residency where we lost Buddy, and I think that really almost in an odd way solidified us as a family, and I think everybody here mourned the loss of Buddy. There was just something about that moment where we all lost Buddy. It wasn't just Bonnie losing Buddy or the chairman of the program losing Buddy, but Buddy was our dog by that time, and so that was just a moment that stands out. And then I think Ross Klavan had a parakeet that he lost, and so he was talking about his lost parakeet, and suddenly we were all mourning all of our lost pets together. It was a very interesting moment.
Well, in a way, my favorite memory is when they finally managed to close down the Ramada Inn and turn it into a dorm so that we can stay at Janetti's, which is a decent hotel.
Are there any unknown program moments in the story?
Most of them are stories that people probably shouldn't know about. There was a rumor going around that David Poyer and I were having an affair. They're not touching, but there's something going on there. And I would like to say categorically now that it never happened. There was no affair. It's absolutely untrue.
There's an underground thrift circuit that goes on, and I have appointments with various people at various times to go to the Salvation Army, Volunteers of America, the thrift stores in Kingston. So I think that's the sort of hidden side of the Wilkes MFA program.
I was making a sandwich and I thought it was cold out, so I wanted to make a warm sandwich. And I put the bun in the toaster in the cafeteria, and it is supposed to automatically roll out. And it was taking time, and I thought, well, that's fine. And then it was taking more time, and I thought, well, that's not fine. And I went to look, and it had gotten trapped in the toaster. There was a fire, and they actually had to spray that to blow out the flames. And so that's my little destruction story. Everyone lived. It's all good.
You're talking about my alleged affair with Lenore Hart. I can deny those rumors categorically. There is no affair.
It was the summer of, I think, 2009, and behind this building, I forget the old building we stayed in, we used to dorm in, and about 2:30 in the morning, we're all sleeping there, all the faculty.
Someone lit a cigar and thought he would not let the smoke get to the smoke detector. It got to it, and we all had to go down in our PJs or underwear.
So we stood out there in our parking lot for like 30 or 40 minutes at 3 in the morning.
I see. Yes, I was in the dorm when that happened. I thought it was quite amusing. It wasn't my cigar, though. People automatically assumed it was, and it was not, thankfully, mine.
Greg's father died during, I think he died during one of the residencies. And he decided to stay. He felt something from all of us and from the program that allowed him to feel that he could go away and cry and grieve, but he could come out and even smile and be supported. I think that's, that was a great moment.
I would have to say Crime and Punishment. You can't go wrong with Dostoevsky at any point in your life. And the program has lots of highs, some lows, and it all comes out in the wash in the end. So I would have to say that one.
What comes to mind is an old-fashioned book called The Yearling. In that book, a young person discovers and cares for a wounded deer. This program, we encounter students who have many very touching stories that they want to write. Sort of like, as I think about it, protecting the child of the deer within them and nursing it, cultivating it, nourishing it, bringing it to be able to stand and have its life.
I would connect it to Walden, Thoreau's Walden. I run along the river, and I find that very contemplative, yet the town, like Concord was to Thoreau, is right over here, and you have this interaction. Plus, it's you meditate on writing, on art, and then you can go be alone on my runs along the river and kind of absorb that and think about it.
How about waiting for Godot? Every time we come together, I feel like we're at this crossroads, and you don't know what's going to happen next, and all you can do is be there with that moment, and don't bother to spend your time waiting. Just enjoy what's here happening at that moment.
The Cat in the Hat is if it were written by James Joyce. There is an enormous sense of play and fun and food, and yet it's play at the highest and most serious levels. And so there is an element of acceptance, an element of childlikeness that I find absolutely self-renewing at these programs. At the same time, it's also at a Joycean level of play.
I'd compare it to Norman McLean's A River Runs Through It, because a river runs through it.
Night before Christmas, because it's just exciting. I mean, coming here is like Christmas. You know, it's just you see all kinds of things. You get all kinds of gifts in the form of inspiration and words and all the books that everybody wrote all over Barnes and Noble and for sale during the readings. And it's just it's the excitement.
I wouldn't really compare this program to a book. I would compare this program to a library, because there are so many choices of people and authors and genres and mediums to choose from, that it seems as though somebody who comes here as a writer is unlimited in the potential of what they can do, what they can accomplish, and what they can learn.